Who did Beethoven dedicate a violin concerto to, but then the guy never even performed it? Well, today I want to tell you about a French violinist, educator, and composer by the name of Rodolphe Kreutzer. Rodolphe Kreutzer, of course, does not sound very French, but he was born in 1766 in Versailles as a Frenchman. His dad, though, his father, was a German man who had immigrated to Versailles as a professional violinist. So growing up here, he was surrounded by the best musicians around. And his father started teaching him violin, and quickly everyone around realized that this kid was not just good, he was a child prodigy. And by the time he was 13, he was already performing professionally. Now at the time, many people were taught by apprentices, but he had a whole slew of people that were educating him and teaching him just because he had access to this many people. And also at this point, a music education, violin education starts becoming more standardized, and he ends up in his life having a huge participation in this. Later on in life, he actually becomes very closely associated with the Paris Conservatory and really helps set standards for violin performance, violin education worldwide from then on. As a young adult, he gains reputation all around Europe as being one of France's most virtuoso violinists. He is known for his clear tone, but also really for his technical ability. He is very fast and very clear with his notes. But then, despite all this, he still has this French elegance and smoothness at the same time. Elsewhere in Europe, Beethoven is composing, and he writes a violin sonata number 9 for violin and piano, and he dedicates this to Kreutzer. Now, why does he do this? Do they know each other? No, they don't know each other at all. Originally, actually, it was dedicated to a different person by the name of George Bridgetower, who was going to perform this. But they had a falling out, and so his name had to be erased, and now there was a blank space, and Beethoven had to do something, and Kreutzer was known all over. So even though branding was not really a thing yet, he did understand, hey, if I attach Kreutzer's name to this, that might help and make it more popular, because I need to sell this, because I need income. And it did work. Now, Kreutzer got this, he received it, and he thought, okay, and I'm going to look at it, but he didn't really like it. So he didn't perform it himself. I mean, you have to remember that Kreutzer is trained in France, and so he likes very elegant lines. He doesn't like a lot of abrasiveness and just sudden jumps. He wants clear phrasing, and he wants this gracefulness in his music. And that's also how he writes. And then he gets Beethoven's music, and it's completely the opposite of what he prefers. So for him, it was just bad. It's not bad, it's beautiful, but it was not his taste. He never played it. But to this day, we still refer to it as the Kreutzer Sonata. Kreutzer himself was also a composer, and the most well-known pieces that he wrote are the 42 etudes. As any violinist, we have all had to play these. And I can still play them by memory. It's what your teacher will give you when you are at the point where you really need to start clarifying your technique. It has everything in these 42. Some of them are very pretty. Some of them are just very repetitive. It's okay. It is required, and there's a reason for it, because it is good and it teaches excellency. But what many people don't know, even violinists, is that's not all he wrote. He didn't just write as a teacher and educator for his students. He wrote other things as well. I mean, of course he wrote violin concertos, that is his thing, but he also wrote chamber music, and unbeknownst to me, he even wrote operas that were quite well known and performed frequently during his lifetime, but have largely fallen away, and I've actually never heard of a Kreutzer opera. As far as we know for his personal life, he was a stand-up guy. He lived most of his life in Paris. He did get married, he had children, but there's very little known about that. Most of what we know is about his musical career. Besides his music career, what we know is that during the Napoleonic era, he enjoyed collecting artifacts of Napoleon and of this war. Apparently, it was a relatively normal thing at the time to have these military artifacts surround yourself. I think it kind of shows how the politics and the military really affected everything, including the artists' lives. Later on in his life in Paris, Kreutzer is involved in a serious carriage accident. We don't know exactly what happened, but we do know that this affected his health for the rest of his life. He ended up in chronic pain and had much less stamina. So he was not performing as much anymore, which is sad, but at the same time, he focused so much more time now on pedagogy and the excellence of creating this. before this accident, he was really a performer for the most part, but now he had to shift his attention and he became an administrator. He was really working a lot at the Paris Conservatory, but he was still composing as well. But I cannot emphasize enough his influence on the standardization of music education, especially for the violin, but just in general. He emphasized control of the bow, of the fingering, rather than showmanship. Like, it's great if you can make things look good, but make sure that they are technically sound. That was his thing. Although he did not die directly from this carriage accident, he was never able to completely recover, and by the time he was 65 in 1831, he died in Geneva. While many composers and musicians are remembered for what audiences hear, Kreutzer is remembered for what musicians practice, and this makes his influence so powerful because everyone you hear has been influenced by this man. I'm talking about violinist. So go and listen to something by Kreutzer.